You know, the primary concern for most people when they're purchasing a new sign is what is the cost going to be? And rightfully so. A sign can be very expensive. So today, for all of my potential clients, I would like to go over that cheap price that you're getting on that competitive bid. Because one of the things that people say to me when they're comparing bids is, well, you're higher than the other guy. Well, that's not always true, even if it looks like the numbers are higher than your other bid. So let's go and look at some of the details that you'll find on the typical bid. Number one, you're going to see the cost of the sign. That's the main part. That's what you're buying. You're going to see that large price. And it's going to cover, quality. It's going to cover components, its parts, and labor. The other thing that you're going to see on the sign quote is installation. This can be expensive depending on if it's a large sign that requires digging a hole and putting up a pylon. And this is going to include the material for installation, the labor, the crane rental, etc. And usually that's where the bidding stops for comparison's sake. And on my bid, we include a few other factors. But on competing bids, I've noticed that these other factors are not included, and they're found in the fine print on those cheap bids. And let's go over a couple of those things, because there's actually 4 or 5 things that will be added on later that you don't even know what the cost is in that cheaper bid. Number one, you'll see a phrase at the bottom of your bid, your proposal, that says plus permits. You're buying an electric sign that goes outside, needs to be installed on the outside of the building, and guess what? Cities want their take. You're going to have to pull a permit. So why would you say plus permits? Well, because they want to hide that price from you. That's why. If they say plus permits, they could just jack you for an extra $200, $300, $400. I've seen permits that get added on for upwards of $700. It's crazy. The other thing that you'll see is does not include final electric hookup. Okay, so we're putting up an electric sign, but we're not going to include final electric hookup. Well, the thing you need to know here in Minnesota is if you have an electric sign, in order for it to light, you got to hook it up to electric. And the state requires an electrical permit. And so in our proposals, we include that in the price. Do you see how we might appear to be more expensive when in actuality, you're going to know what the cost is? Let's look at some other things that get tacked on at the end. How about plus tax? What? I got to pay tax for my sign? Yes, everybody has to pay sales tax. And we disclose those fees, those taxes up front to you. No one wants to get a call from the IRS saying, you owe tax. And sign companies will pay tax, they're going to charge tax, and they're going to get it from you. You might as well be prepared for it. And again, cheaper doesn't mean that you're actually going to pay less. Let me illustrate this with a story that happened to us recently. A good customer of mine, or actually a potential customer, she's now a good customer of mine, came to me and said, Spencer, I like you, but the bid for the sign is $1,000 higher than the other bid. I like you, but not for $1,000. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. I mean, $1,000 is a lot of money. I said, but are we making an apples-to-apples comparison? Would you allow me to sit with you in the meeting and show you the bids side by side? Let's take a look. She was very willing to do that. She told me right up front, she is going to go with the other guy because he was cheaper. We met. We looked at the bids. I gave her the bid of mine. She let me look at the other bid. And immediately I noticed this does not include permit or final electric hookup. Again, this was an outdoor sign, electric outdoor sign. Guess what you're required to have? A permit and electrical hookup. She was not a happy camper because after we took out those numbers that I had included on my bid, we were $250 cheaper than the cheap bid. So The long story short of it, she ended up calling the landlord, who had also referred this other sign company. When he heard about the discrepancy, the unethical practices, in my opinion, the landlord picked up the phone and started chewing out that other sign guy. You know, I get a little satisfaction for that one. We ended up doing the work, saving our client not only the $250, but who knows how much money was going to be tacked on because it was extra or not included. So my warning to you is when you're looking at those bids, read the fine print. Signs by RSG, we disclose what we're going to charge you. You're going to know what you're going to pay. Signs by RSG, we will sign anything.